Turning steel into another metal, 4 of 5, copper, brown, and black smart stains. With this video, we continue our 5-part series of making tube steel look like another kind of metal. Here we're going to make this tube steel look like an aged copper finish. And we're going to do that with our smart stains. But first we need to clean it. So we're going to use the Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner and a Scotch-Brite pad. Now, you could use a sandblaster or a wire reel, sand it. It all depends on the given conditions of your project, but here I'm just using the Sculpt Nouveau metal cleaner and a Scotch-Brite pad. The smart stains typically don't mind a little bit of heat, so if you wanted to heat it up after you rinsed it, that would be fine with them. Just make sure that it's completely dry before we start moving forward. So here I'm not actually going to heat it up. We're just going to spray it on, and I'll use a little hair dryer here and there to help dry it a little bit, but overall I'm doing it more as a cold process. Here I'm using a touch-up gun by Harbor Freight, and the smart stains aren't too picky about what they're sprayed out of as long as it's in the range of 1.2 to 1.4 tips. And sometimes you'll need to put a little Teflon tape on the threads like we do on the gravity feed gun I usually use for the metal coating videos. But here it's just a straightforward, and this is full concentrate even though you could dilute it if you want. I'm wanting to get a more opaque color, so we're going full concentrate on the copper. And I'm shooting it at about 25 to 30 pounds of pressure. I would recommend straining the copper and the brass and the silver smart stains as you go to shoot them. Typically they'll be okay, but since they do have metal in them, they tend to clump a little bit, so you got to mix it in the jar with like a stick and then shake them real good, and that does a lot of the work right there. But straining them will ensure that you have less clogs and you can get a good even flow going onto your piece. Make sure that you let the first coat dry before you add subsequent coats, especially when you're going from one color to the next like I am here. I'm going to go from the copper to a brown and black mixture, and that just makes sure that we get a nice even lay down. So here I have a black and brown mixture. It's something to the extent of 2 parts brown to 1 part black and a lot of thinner. I think I went about 80% Smart Coat matte to really get it nice and thin and build up that color, because I wanted to see a lot of the copper coming through, but I wanted it to age up so we would get some of that brown and black. So you can see I'm using the same sprayer, still about 30 pounds of pressure, and I'm going to use a heat gun on this just to help dry it a little bit quicker. When it's wet, it looks a little bit different than when it's dry, so I want to make sure that I'm not overdoing it on this piece. Another great thing about the smart stains are they are very flexible, just like the vinyls. And what I mean by that is we can do a lot over the top of them. So once the smart stains have dried and cured, which is usually about 24 hours, and really you can do some Verde wax over the top again to get it into the recesses. We can add more smart stains, we can add more patina stains, so it's another one of those where the limits are just your imagination. You can get virtually any color with the smart stains. And here we have our final piece of copper smart stain and brown and black smart stains over a steel tube. Smart stains are available at www.sculptnouveau.com.